morning, people. Welcome back to F Politics. I was just on BBC Radio 2 debating Labour's inheritance tax policy on farms with a farmer. Why? Because this discussion has been annoying me.
I think the entire way we're talking about this discussion is wrong. Let's start from the basics. Does anybody on this call believe that some babies deserve to be born as millionaires and some babies deserve to be born into poverty?
Oh, come on.
Jeremy, what's your answer?
Yes or no?
Look, you are never.
Can you answer the question?
Have complete equality. Some people are born beautiful, some people are born ugly.
Can you answer the question? Yes or no?
Now, I know you're absolutely shocked to hear that Boris Brexit Conservative supporter arguing that the indescribable inequality between people in poverty and millionaires isn't that big a deal, and it's kind of like how some people are born prettier than others. But just let him continue for a second.
What do I think? Do I think inherited wealth is a bad thing?
Do you think some babies deserve to be born millionaires and some deserve to be born in poverty? Because right now there are 4.3 million children in poverty in the UK, and there are 100,000 farmers. Do you believe?
You're not going to lift them out of poverty by destroying the economy. This is important.
Now, he's not wrong, but do you see how he's still avoiding the question by setting up a false narrative whereby the only way to solve the rampant inequality between people in poverty and millionaires is to destroy the economy? Which is why Jeremy Vine steps in to answer for him.
Just to get back to the question, that you are concerned, Femi, that some people are born with nothing and others are born with a farm. Is it, if we flip the question, the farmer might say, does the person whose parents didn't farm deserve to be given a farm when they haven't got a farm in the family to start with?
But the parents of people that didn't farm, parents of people who are in poverty, they have worked just as hard their entire lives. It's not like, why did their kids not deserve a huge £3 million farm, but the other kids do? Yeah, Inheritance tax is a response to the fact that injustice exists. We shouldn't have some babies born as millionaires and others in poverty. The only reason why we provide inheritance tax relief to farmers is because we understand that we all need to eat. It provides a social function. This conversation should be about food security, not about whether or not some kids should get an extra million or not.
And that right there is the point, because there are 4.3 million children in poverty right now, so this should not be a discussion about what kind of millionaires the kids of farmers get to be. A lot of farms in the UK don't make a profit. They operate at a loss, which is why they have to be financially supported by the government in order to maintain our supply of food. So I do understand that it makes sense to keep that in mind when you're charging them an inheritance tax bill so it doesn't wipe out those subsidies. But the discussion around that should be based exclusively on whether or not it affects our food security. For example, if some farmers have to sell off their farms in order to pay that inheritance tax bill, will those farms still produce food for us? Particularly, will the new owners of the farm produce as much food for us as the old owners? So when you're judging this policy, your judgment should be based exclusively on how it affects our food supply. But while we're on the topic, there is also a massive Brexit elephant in the room. For example, the farmer that I was just debating, he supported Brexit, which has objectively damaged the UK farming industry. And that's been confirmed by the UK Food and Drink Association, the National Farmers Union themselves, and 69% of farmers. And yet that guy has the nerve to go on the radio and act like he knows what's best for UK farmers. It's also incredible that the farming protest dominated UK news, even though it only affects, according to the Treasury, 500 people, yet a Brexit that is taking £1,000 from every household in the country, according to the Bank of England, when tens of thousands of people take to the streets every year to protest against that, there's crickets from the UK media. But if Jeremy Clarkson wants to protest so that he can hide his millions of pounds from the UK tax collector, that has to be front page news. Now, to be clear, I'm not necessarily saying I agree with the inheritance tax policy, but any inheritance tax policy should target people like Jeremy Clarkson, who deliberately buy assets to avoid paying tax. So maybe Labour got the balance of this right, maybe they got it wrong, but in a cost of living crisis, the focus should be on whether or not people get to eat, not the inheritance of millionaires. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.